Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 8 of Sasaki and Miyano, and last episode was absolutely precious. It was so precious. It was so cute. Sasaki dealing with his jealousy. We have this drag show that's happening in the cultural festival at the school, and Miyano has been chosen as the representative. And so there, of course, is discussions about self-image, things like that, and Sasaki dealing with his jealousy. And honestly, last episode, Sasaki, I was worried that it was going to go down that weird jealousy trope hole, but it didn't. Sasaki redeemed himself, and both of them starting to slowly warm up to each other, slowly but surely. But let me tell y'all, I'm excited for this episode because it's the rule of 8. It's the rule of 8. I have this rule with every series that I watch that has 10 to 12 or 13 episodes. You always do the rule of 8. And the trick is, if you look at things in a 3-act structure, Act 1, your first 4 episodes introduces your characters, sets up their situations. The next 4 episodes introduce like the characters building up towards the climax. And usually episode 8 is like the end of Act 2, start of Act 3. So it's like things are going to ramp up in this episode. And so far with all of the series that I've watched that have been 10 to 13 episodes for a cours, the 8th episode has not disappointed. So, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that's not going to happen this time, but I'm so excited. The rule of 8, y'all. I'm pretty hyped up for this. So, as per usual, we are using the September scanlations that have been provided by Seth Mary. Thank you once again. There is down in the description below some rules and troubleshooting guidelines if you would be interested in getting these subs as well. But I've waited all day to watch this episode. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I don't really have any episode notes from the last episode. It was pretty much a cut and dry thing, but as I'm recording this, I think episode 11 has aired, so the season is almost wrapped up. I know there's an OVA. I was asked in the Discord if I would be reacting to the OVA whenever it comes out. I don't think it has an air date yet, but yes. To answer your question, once I start a series on this channel, if there are any OVAs that come out, I'm gonna watch it. OVAs, movies, things like that, I'm gonna watch it. It just depends on when it comes out and is available streaming with subtitles. So there we go. But yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I can't wait, y'all, to watch this episode. So we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right in. So I hope you all enjoy this reaction. I felt very springy today. It's like showering outside. I'm like, time for some Sasaki and Miyano. So let's do this, shall we? We are going to watch episode 8 of Sasaki and Miyano, and we are going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Rule of 8. Rule of 8. Oh my god, this is my favorite episode yet. This is my favorite episode yet. Oh my gosh, this episode. This had everything that I love in this series so far. It had our Hot Mess Express Oga. We finally get to meet his girlfriend. The president is getting interesting. Everybody knows that they love each other. And Sasaki and Miyano maybe both realize, maybe Miyano realizes he is in love with Sasaki, or he does at least care about him in a romantic way. Oh, I just really love this episode. And there were so many parts of it. I was like trying to keep up with the subtitles. Like, what do I do? And so I'm like, no, we're gonna have to go back and have to go back and watch that. That's just gonna have to happen. There's no getting around that. Oh my gosh. But okay. Oh, holy cow. Okay, all right. So, let's go back to this episode. I absolutely loved this. The definition of a lover. And I like that this episode has different like little cue cards pop up, like when characters are thinking something or when a theme comes up. It's just, oh my gosh. So we might as well just start from the beginning and go through it. But Ogasawara and his girlfriend are an OTP for me in this series. They are wonderful. I had imagined in my head that she was this shy, demure girl that was like, don't you know about these BL series? Like, no, she is just like so outspoken and just like having her way. He's whipped. Ogasawara is whipped. There's no hope for him. And he's like, I don't get in a relationship unless I intend to marry them. And it's like, oh, well, she's probably going to be all right with that. And I love Hirano's like, yeah, you're going to be really whipped. You just, there's nothing. You cannot hold a candle in this. He is an uke, but he's an uke with her. She is the sime in this relationship. Oh my gosh. And so, of course, they're arguing. It's their love language. And Hirano and Miyano are like, And he's like, I just need some space today, damn it. And then it's like they're awfully loud. And then I just love that he's just like, whoa, Hirano. And then I like when Ogasawara turns around, Sasaki's like leaned in to listen, and Sasaki's just like, oh, hey guys, like look at this shit show. Isn't this great? He's like, go home. And he's like, apparently he's fighting with his girlfriend again. And then he's like, oh, Fudanshi, you're here. Help. And Miyano's like, what? Yokota Imi. Translate for this BL fangirl. Like, help a boy out. Help a man out. So her name is Yokota Imi. All right. This is amazing. And I just love the colors and shapes in this episode were wonderful. I was like, yes, please. So, of course, Miyano gets on the phone with her. He's like, hello, Moshi Moshi. And then she just goes into, it's just like, I like that her first words to Miyano, who is someone she has never spoken to, never met before. Her first words, the moment she said, hey, do you like bad boy ukes? I was like, this girl's as crazy as Ogasawara. She is a hot mess express just like him. They are peas in a pod. Oh, and this conversation, it went too fast. And I just like the phone spirals into the abyss. And he's like, what? And she's like, okay, so we need to break this down because I was like, what is she saying? She says, like, normally they act all high and mighty. When they're in public, they're such jerks to their semeis. Okay, but as soon as they're in private, the tables are turned when their seme finally gains some confidence. Okay, so she's establishing the idea that these bad boy ukes, they act all like jerks in public, like they're over the top. But then when they're in private, the table turns and their seme finally gains some confidence. So is she talking about her and Ogasawara's relationship? Because if he's the bad boy uke and he's in public, he acts all high and mighty. But then when they're in private, she gets some confidence and like the tables turn. And it says, and I love that it's just this representation of this high school couple, like on the top of the rooftop with the chain link fence around the school. It is the most like overused high school trope. She's like, and then they become the plaything of the seme, who's unexpectedly strong, which sounds like her, right? Oh my God. And despite objecting with their mouth, they can't hide their true feelings with their body. Oh my God. And the next day, they're crazy hypersensitive to even the most casual actions of the seme. This sounds like them. It sounds like she's like, Ogasawara's just crazy hypersensitive to everything that I've done. I don't understand why. Like her voice, she's getting faster and faster as she talks. And I love that the guy who is like the seme is like battered and, or the uke is battered and bruised and kind of has Ogasawara's hair. And then this other character looks like Ren from Free. It looks like Ren from Free, just like leaning in. Oh my God. Oh no. They're hyper. And then when the seme realizes this, he finally gets his revenge. And the uke, who slowly but steadily becomes bound to his lover. What? And through his love, his personality starts to change for the better. So I ask again. Oh my God. Do you like bad boy ukes with like all uppercase letters and the rabbits around her? And Miyano's just like, God, we found one. Oh my God. Ah. And he's like, I'm totally in love. Because he likes bad boy ukes too. And so what she loves is exactly what he loves. So they're like, they've connected on it. They've like transcended time and space and connected on a spiritual level. like Imi and Miyano. And Ogasawara's like, excuse me? And Sasaki has like the purple poison fumes seeping out of him. He's like, what the hell do you think you're doing confessing to someone else's girlfriend? And I like this Sasaki's like, ugh. And then Miyano's like, you've got it all wrong. We're just talking about bad boy ukes. Because that's what Miyano loves, is a bad boy uke. Okay. So then again, the question remains, does Miyano like the bad boy ukes because he feels like himself in that role? Or does he want to be the seme and want the bad boy Uke to be someone he dates? Or does it even matter? Because at this point, this series is like, Uke-sime, that's all thrown out the window. This is a real relationship. We don't have to apply BL terms to it. You can like it, but not want it to apply to real life, right? And we'll see that here in a second. But I love that Sasaki is just slowly like coming around Ogasawara and coming up to Miyano. It's amazing. And then he's like, I want to hear. He's like, I want to hear the conversation. And so then Ogasawara like tenses up and goes, For the record though, Sasaki was standing next to Oga when he was on the phone with his girlfriend before, but he wasn't leaned in like close to his ear. And Oga notices. And that's when he gets to Hirano and he's like, is it just me or do those two seem awfully close? And Hirano, who's like, shit, he knows that Sasaki loves Miyano, but he's not supposed to say anything. He's like, well, it's none of my business. I don't know. He's like, Sasaki's leaning close on purpose, isn't he? Yes, he is. And she's like, I mean, I do like bad boy ukes, but Jiro is the one I fell in love with, and we've been dating for a while. Okay, so Jiro is Ogasawara's given name, is Jiro. And she says, is the one I fell in love with, and we've been dating for a while. So maybe she doesn't view Ogasawara as a bad boy uke. That's just a trope she likes in fiction. But she doesn't think Ogasawara fits that mold, but she still loves him. And he's like, Jiro. And I love Sasaki, that animation on his eyes where he's like, it's his given name. But he looks so like sensual as he says it. It's like, Sasaki. And she says, but he thinks maybe I just go after bad boys because I like bad boy ukes, and I don't get him at all. Well, the way she talks about bad boy ukes, I could see why he would think that. And he probably thinks of himself as a bad boy because he's got the blue streak in his hair and everything and wears his clothes all haphazard, but he's not really. And she's like, I don't get him at all. And then I didn't fall in love with him because he's a bad boy. It's like, oh. And I love that they're just listening now. And she's like, now she's just babbling his praises. So then Ogasawara comes up and says, I want you to put her on the speaker so I can hear her. And then she says, but he still blushes when he tells me he loves me. He's a worrywart. Oh, Ogasawara, she's telling on you. And then that's when she says, he's such an idiot. And he's like, what the hell? And what the hell's with you saying that you need some space all of a sudden? I love it. Well, you hid that weird book inside a photo album. So he's like, I just can't deal with the weirdness today. And this part, though, where she says, what? Who gave you permission to read that? I hid it so you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. So she's not embarrassed that he found it. She's not embarrassed that he knows that she reads that stuff. She's just embarrassed because she didn't want him to feel uncomfortable. So she hid it away. Oh my God. And Hirano's like, that Hirano, we were talking in Modao Zushi about there's a character in it that he does and it's like the give me strength look. Hirano just has the give me strength look too in this moment. And he's like, well, you hiding it made me even more curious. He's like, why was a bad boy hooking up with a wolf? That freaked me out. And I'm sorry, this conversation, there was a top conversation happening between Hirano and them and a bottom conversation happening between Ogasawara and her. And I was about to lose it. And I was trying to keep up. But the bad boy hooking up with a wolf. There is a BL series about a guy and a wolf hooking up. And I don't remember what it's called, but I know what it is. And so I instantly thought of that. I was like, what is that? It's like a guy with blonde hair and he's like hooking up with a guy that's like a wolf. And there's some kind of like, it's like B-Stars meets a BL. But yeah, that freaked me out. And then, okay, what does she say there? And yeah, they're like, should they really be having this conversation over speakerphones? They're hearing everything. And she says, I'm really into cross-species relationships where they don't share a language right now. And his response. And then Sasaki's like, they're always like this. And then his response, he's like, how do they communicate if they can't talk? And it's like, Ogasawara, well, the answer is sometimes they don't have to use words to communicate their feelings. That's the funniest damn thing I've heard all week. And then they're really close, but they probably fight a couple times a month. It's like they just got to keep it spicy, right? And then as Hirano comes over, the conversation is still going. It's still going. At first, they're frightened of each other, but then some small incident makes them realize they care about each other and their entire worldview changes. I love that she's spinning this. I love the imagery of this, where these three are being like, this is how they are as a couple. And meanwhile, over speakerphone, she's trying to explain to him this interspecies BL series that he doesn't understand at all. And he's questioning the logistics of. And then slowly but steadily, they see they have feelings for one another. There's so many sweet stories like that. And I guess Sasaki says, I guess fighting makes them stronger. It's like that's their way to communicate, right? But I love that she says there's so many sweet stories about these interspecies relationships. But then, and then Hirano says they're a work in progress. But then she says, it's like talk is cheap and having tentacles take off clothes is so classic. I can't do the tentacles. I can't. There's no way. But I get what she's saying. That the whole message behind stories like that is that, sometimes talk is cheap and that sometimes it's better to express your feelings through other means other than just words. But I can't get behind the tentacles. Oh my God. And Oga's just like, And then, oh my God. And he's like, calm the fuck down. Are you sure it's okay to just babble about this out loud? And I love that as they're having this and he's like, is this acceptable? He's like, Miyano, is this acceptable? And Miyano's like, absolutely not. And he's like, I knew it. Shut up now. He's like, you can't just talk about this in public. And she's like, he pissed me off. You always have the worst timing. And she says, we're getting nowhere over the phone. Fine, I'm going to come over there right now. You better be waiting. He's like, right now? And I love she says, you better be waiting. Like, I expect you to be at point A now. And then hangs up on him. Yeah, he's whipped. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, she's coming here. She goes to nearby co-ed school. Oh my God. Oh. And I love that during this conversation, Sasaki's like, should we go before she shows up? Because I'm sure in the back of his head, he's thinking, is she going to try to take Miyano away? And they're going to go fangirl about BL series? And I don't want that. That's my job. And then he's like, oh, nothing's wrong. And he's like, I got to go. And then Hirano's like, geez, you're going to be so whipped when you two get married. And then I like that Miyano's like, you're marrying her. And then Ogasawara turns around and he's so serious. He's like, yes. I love this. Where he's like, I don't get involved with women I don't intend to marry. I get it. No, I get it. God, I love him so much. What a hot mess. And Miyano's like, oh. And then Sasaki's like, I think that's what she likes about you. She knows she has you eating out of the palm of her hand. That's what she likes. She knows that you're serious and that she has a serious relationship with you and she ain't gonna let that go, right? And I don't think that's settling, but Miyano's like, And then Ogasawara says the fact that she's gonna totally dominate me. No, Ogasawara is the uke in this situation. There's no hesitation at all. I like with the little killdeer going by. Emi. And then I love he runs up to her and she just punches him. And then she's like such a tsundere. She punches him and then she's like, and lays her head on his chest. And then she drags him away. And he's like, I told you I'm sorry. And then they're like, there goes the happy couple. And Hirano's on his phone, like, regretting all life choices of being friends with them. Oh my God. That may have been the funniest thing I've watched in a while. That's so good. That's so good. And so then they go, and Sasaki and them are going to go by the bookstore. And Sasaki, as they're walking home, makes the comment that he's like, I wonder if people watching us walk home like this think that we're dating. And Miyano's like, no, they surely just think that we're just Kohei and Senpai. No, there's no way they think we're dating. And so Sasaki's like, but you're thinking about it now, right? And then, of course, Miyano is. He's like, well, of course I'm thinking about it because I'm considering your proposal. So, yeah, now when you say stuff like that, of course I'm going to picture it. So, I love that. I love that he's like, And in the blush over his face, he's like, I don't want to give you an answer yet, but I am still considering it. And Sasaki's like, I love when he puts his hand over his face. And so yeah, we have the definition of a lover. Like, how do we describe that? And so we talk about this with the president, which is interesting, right? And so I'm going to skip the OP a little bit. Skip the OP and get to this. Okay. So they bring in all the costumes for the pageant, right? And so the old president here, and I love the instant, like, I love the dual reactions of Kurosawa and Miyano. Kurosawa's like, ah, yes, wow. And Miyano's like, ugh. So here's the thing. This is the big discussion in this episode because it's very interesting. I was wondering if Sasaki was going to go this route and try to get Miyano out of the drag show. And it kind of hits on two fronts, right? There's the one angle where Sasaki does not want Miyano to be in the drag show because he's going to look cute. And there's that BL trope where the one person in the relationship doesn't want the other to be shown off or do something cute because they're jealous and they don't want anybody else to think of them the same way that they do. They want to keep them all to themselves, which is one of the definitions of love that the president gives in this episode. And I'm not a big fan of that because I think it's a little too controlling, and I don't like the idea of them being like, you can't go do this and you can't go do that. You can't interact with other people, only me. I don't like that, honestly. It's like you're monopolizing their entire life, and like they need to go out and have other friends other than just you. So at first I was afraid that that's where he was going with it. But then he brings up a good point. He's like, why are you doing something you don't want to do just because other people ask you to? So that could tie, to him, like, because Miyano, he's like, and here's the thing. He's like, I've told you that I love you and I've asked you to date me and stuff. And you've told me that you'll think about it and you've given that serious thought. But something like this that you are deeply connected to, you don't like to dress and drag. You don't like to be seen as a girl. You just go along with it because they're your friends. He's like, what's the difference? And the difference is the thing about dating is something much bigger. And it's something Miyano has to think about because it's Sasaki and he cares about him. And as we see in this episode, he possibly loves him. Whereas the drag show thing is something related to Miyano. But Miyano's like, well, I'll get over it. But honestly, Sasaki does bring out a good point. And Hirano brought out the same point in the last episode. Hirano last episode was like, if you don't want to do this, just say no. And Miyano was like, oh, well. And Sasaki's like, if you don't want to do this, why are you doing it? And I think also Sasaki might be afraid that if Miyano goes along with this drag show, even though he doesn't want to, is Miyano going to give Sasaki an answer to his confession that he doesn't really want to? Is he going to say, yeah, I love you, Sasaki, and I want to date you, when he doesn't actually feel that way? And Sasaki doesn't want that. He wants his feelings to be genuine. So I think that Sasaki's mad, too, because he also thinks that if Sasaki just goes along with something he doesn't want to do in this situation, is him dating Sasaki going to be something he doesn't want to do either, and he's just going along with it to be polite? And Sasaki's like, I don't want to be led on. So I wanted to go back to this episode and see all the moments that's brought up. And in this one moment where Kurosawa seems totally on board with the cross-dressing, and Miyano's like, ugh. Like, in that moment, it's like, yeah, Miyano doesn't want to do this. He's just going along with it, right? Because the class kind of made him do it. And so, yeah, and this is the thing, too. They're like, what is your class doing for the festival, Miyano? They're making an escape room. So his own class isn't even doing the drag show. It's Hirano's class, right? Or it's a different first year class or a different second year class that's doing it. He's like, my class is building an escape room. I'm not even involved in the class doing the drag show. And so Kurosawa is the understudy for Miyano in case if Miyano backs out, which I think at this point he's going to back out. Or maybe not. I don't know. But if he doesn't do it, then Kurosawa is going to do it too. And so then the president's like, let's get you dressed up and try this. And to be fair, Kurosawa makes a very convincing girl. Enough that Toshiro is totally enamored and believes that he's a girl and tries to ask him out. And it's like, and I love that Kurosawa like puts on a high voice, says, I'm Kurosawa Tatsuko. And he's like, oh, I'm such an idiot. You're just Kurosawa. And he's like, did you seriously think I was a girl? And then, this episode, Toshiro is just sitting there banging his head on the cardboard, putting himself in a box, just so embarrassed. And I love that Kurosawa was like, and with that, our love story was over. And Toshiro was like, shut up. And then Miyano, there's a part of me that's like, Miyano does not want other guys to see him looking like a girl in this moment, but then he translates it to, I don't want to have BL fantasies about my friends, so stop giving me ideas. I love how sincere he is. He's like, I already think enough about Hirano and his roommate. I don't need to think about you two together. And then, God, Tashiro's like, I'm not giving you ideas. This is Kurosawa's fault. And Kurosawa looks pleased as punch. And so then Hyakuza, the president, comes in and he says they're going to do their fitting. And then I just love that Tashiro just runs away with the box. It's just the cutest thing. And he's like, Tashiro-kun. Oh my gosh. And everybody's getting ready for the festival. It's just... And so there's this silver-haired guy. We've never seen him before, but he's like prominently in this episode, the guy painting. Interesting. Hanzawa. Hanzawa is the president's name. So Hanzawa has a pretty tall sister that we establish. And Miyano's like, I wish I could get 170 centimeters, which 170 centimeters is what? Like 5'8". I think 172 centimeters. I'm trying to think. There's a character in Haikyuu that's my height, and I'm 5'8", and I think that's like 172 centimeters maybe. So Miyano's just a little bit shorter than me. Okay. And yeah, so this guy here, and Miyano's standing on his tiptoes. Aw. So cute. I like that Tashiro's just there. So this silver-haired guy, we barely see him, but he looks kind of like a fox. And I like that he's just there having a good time. So then this thing called Secret Ambitions pops up. Is that related to the silver-haired man? Or is it related to the silver-haired man, or is it related to everybody else? It's funny that they linger on him. I'm like, is he going to come back in this story at some point? It just seems odd that he's a side character they just focused on for so long. I don't know. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So then Miyano comes back the next day and he has the hair clip. I like the hair clip in his hair. I think it's super cute. And he spent the whole night... Dude, can relate. When he tells Sasaki he spent the whole night staying up reading a novel. Been there. Like, I have a horrible habit of... It'll be like midnight. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get A on AO3. Just read this one fan fiction. It'll just be the one. And that's it. And then I fall down a rabbit hole. And then it's like 2 a.m. and I need to get up for work. And I'm like, no. So I absolutely understood the idea behind this. But Miyano, what he says there, he talks about, he sees the bird flying away. What did he say in that? He said it was so unfair waiting till the end to reveal his fingertips were chilly because he'd been nervous the whole time. And now I want to reread it. Okay, so that was it. He kept talking about how Sasaki's fingertips were cold, right? And in the novel that he read, or in the fanfic he read or whatever, the person's fingertips were cold because they were nervous. So is he putting two and two together that Sasaki is nervous around him and that's why his fingertips are cold? And that's why he thought about Sasaki, was because he knows that feeling and he's like, oh, is he nervous of being around me too? And then Sasaki says, your bangs are adorable. And Miyano's like trying to hide his face and Oga's like, he's been spotted. Okay, and so Oga's like, I'm heading to class and leaving you guys to it. So there is a part about this that I'm not, and again, this will tie back later to the episode where Sasaki is telling him to not do the pageant. The part here where he takes the clip off, there was a part of me that was like, did Sasaki want him to take the hair clip away because having his hair pulled back made him look cute? And Sasaki was like, so I don't want anybody else to think you're cute. So he says, you look really cute with your forehead showing though. So is that why he wanted him to take the clip off and hide it? So then he says, do you mind if I kiss it? And then Miyano's like, what? No. And Sasaki's like, I wouldn't do that. We're in public. That would be somebody could see us. And of course, Miyano thinks, well, what if we're not in public? Why'd you say that? Are you saying that you would kiss my forehead if we weren't in public? And then he's like, why did I think that? But yeah, this part here where he says, would you mind laying your bangs down? It feels weird when my underclassman doesn't look like himself. That part I was a little bit like, it's clear that Miyano did not want to let his bangs down, but he did because you asked him to. And so that kind of ties to the whole pageant thing. The idea that Miyano just did it because someone asked, right? That he was just doing it out of a courtesy, out of kindness. That's what it relates to. So Sasaki, I can see why he gets flustered about the pageant thing, because he's like, okay, you didn't want to do this, but you did it anyway because I asked. And so you didn't want to be in this pageant, but you did it anyway because somebody asks. And so you put your bangs down even though you clearly didn't want to because I asked. So if I ask you to date me, are you going to date me not because you want to, but because you feel obligated? That's kind of what it seems like he's getting at. He's like, I don't want to date somebody that's just doing this out of obligation. He's like, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable thinking that you're just saying you like me to make me feel good when you don't feel the same way. So that makes more sense. Okay, I think that's why he did that. And I don't blame Sasaki for being like, are you dating me because you love me or because you don't want to hurt my feelings? Because I've been there. Yeah, I've been in Sasaki's shoes where I've told somebody that I liked them and then they dated out of obligation. And then a while later they were like, well, I just didn't want you to feel bad. And I'm like, well, I feel pretty bad now. So I totally get Sasaki's feelings there that sucks. And you just feel like the worst. Like you're like, well, it makes you like not want to ask anybody out because then you're afraid to. You're like, well, I don't want that to happen again. So I get where Sasaki's coming from. Absolutely. And so then he says, thanks. And it's one thing I kind of want Miyano to cut his hair because he seems to want to do so himself, but he's also so self-conscious of his forehead. Yeah. And then Sasaki like reaching up and grabbing his bangs or Miyano reaching up and grabbing where Sasaki touched his bangs. Yeah, God, this episode was so good. And him blushing. Oh, that blush from Miyano. Like, he looks so good there where he has head up on his face. And anytime they have the triangles and everything, it's just like, it's like love exploding onto there. And he's like, what was it? And it was Sasaki's fingertips. They were cold. That time too. And Miyano realizing that maybe he likes Sasaki. Were they cold because he was nervous? And he doesn't get to finish the thought because he's late. But, so then we have everybody's making, that silver-haired guy's back there too. But we have everybody making the escape room. And Hyaozawa, he goes back there with Miyano to try on the outfit. And I will give the president this. He was really respectful in that he gave Kurosawa a much more like kind of not revealing, but a much more girly outfit. And here this is very much traditional. Like it's technically a girl's skirt, but it almost seems, yeah, because even Miyano questions whether it's drag or not. And he's like, well, it's a woman's skirt and we'll do a makeup test and all that. The kimono style was the way to go. Because yeah, it's a more non-binary, I guess, style, right? Even though it's technically a girl's skirt, it doesn't look especially feminine, which is what Miyano wanted. So I give the president this, at least he was respectful and was like, well, we'll just pad the chest and poof it up and we'll make it look more girly, I guess. But I do like that they were at least considerate enough to give him an outfit like that and not do something like a maid costume or something that he'd feel really uncomfortable in. But yeah, and he's like, I gotta show my sister the picture and let her know that it worked. And I love that he brought the fan. He's like, if you don't want to show your face, you can use the fan. I like that the president is considerate. That he's like, oh yeah, it's fine. I mean, that is really nice of him to do that. Anytime the president opens his eyes, though, it's like a serious moment, right? Anytime he opens his eyes, it's like he gets serious. He's not joking around anymore. And so I like that. He's like, you're really into this, aren't you, Mr. President? He's like, I guess so. And I liked this conversation, too. It's my last high school festival. So I wanted to go all out. And I can relate to that, too. When I was a senior in high school, I wanted to, like, enjoy my last year. And I did lots of activities and club stuff because it was fun. And because it's like, well, it's my last year in high school. I might as well live it up. And then, but he brings up that he's graduating in 6 months. And Miyano, behind the fan, is like, oh, meaning that Sasaki is graduating in 6 months. So they only have this short amount of time, like the school year's halfway over. So they only have this short amount of time left before they won't see each other anymore on a daily basis. And I love when he looks up like that. The president, his face when he looks up, it's so serious, but it's so soft. That's such a good look. And then him saying, I knew it. You are in love, aren't you? Yeah, Ogasawara knows. The president knows. Hirano knows. Everybody knows. It's only a matter of Kurosawa seems to know. It's only a matter of time before Tashiro knows. Like, they're all figuring it out. And I love that shot of him with the fan hiding his face, but you can still see the blush. What do you think it means to like someone? So Miyano asks this question, like a big question, a good question, as the president notes. And I want to note the president's phone case is a leopard print. It's like a purple leopard print. Okay. He says, I think it's different for everyone. And he has him like turn around and everything. I love how he describes it. He's like maybe wanting to do stuff with them. And we see as this is going on, that has to be the roommate. That has to be the basketball boy. Has to be Hirano's roommate. And he's playing around with the other guys. One that looks like Rin from Free as well. So, But yeah, maybe wanting to do stuff with them. Yes. And then we see Hirano look over him, like wanting to stay together. Oh. And then wanting to hold their hand. And then him looking up at him. He's so handsome. And the moment he sees Hirano, he like smiles. He's so cute. No wonder Hirano likes him. Wanting to touch them. And he's like, Hirano-san. To kiss them. Yeah, so it just goes through. And I love that as he's saying all these things that someone that you like, you'd want to do with, we see Hirano being like, oh my gosh, hey, Rumi. Oh my gosh. And then we cut to Miyano to hold them close. To keep them all to yourself. And he repeats that line. He's like, to keep them all to himself, because that's kind of what Sasaki's trying to do, right? He wants to keep them all to himself. And then the president says, of course, another idea is, and so we see Tashiro talking to the silver-haired guy. And then Hanzawa senpai. And so then we cut to the Kurosawa in the phone conversation with his girlfriend saying, the manga you got for me the other day was so good, thank you. And he says, I knew you'd love it. That's great. Yeah. And then it looks like Ogasawara is talking with his girlfriend, but he's smiling, so they've at least made up. Like, sorry, Miyano, I'll be right back. And there's all the shapes and triangles. It's just love everywhere. I absolutely love it. It's so good. Oh, it's so great. And so then, yeah, Miyano realizing, wanting to do things with them. Yep. And he's like what I did for his birthday. But here's the thing. Yeah, what he did for his birthday is just like, it's a friendship thing. You just gave him a lollipop. It's nothing, that's not anything major. But Miyano's like, I've never really thought to consider about what I want to do with Sasaki senpai. And he's like, why am I looking for things I want to do with him? And it's like, no, you've never thought about it. But the fact that you're thinking about it now means you do want to do something with him. You just don't know what. And I love, he's like, does that mean I want to think of him in a romantic sense? I love for him with the blush. Yeah. And the president's like, oh, you got it bad. What does it mean to like someone? And then, yeah, I love the president's like, oh, your hair's so fluffy. Oh. And it gets that way. And he's like, oh, why not cut it? Are you trying to hide your face? And so this conversation happened pretty quickly, too. And Miyano tries to play it off. He's like, well, I don't really care anymore about it. He's like, nobody teases me about it now. Because he's growing it out. Nobody bothers him. But they used to, and that's why he started growing it out. And he says, plus, he was going to say Sasaki likes his hair like that. But then he stopped. And he's like, anyway, I just realized there's no point in being stubborn about it. And that's when the president opens up his eyes again and is like, huh. So, continuing our conversation from before, he says, love is, and I love that he like grips, he's love when you can't stop thinking about the other person, or so they say. The entire day I've been doing, and so I wondered in this moment, I'm like, does the president like Miyano? I was wondering about that in this moment, because the president focusing on him, I'm like, does the president like Miyano? Or does he like somebody else in his class, and he's kind of going through the same thing Miyano is? I wondered that. And while he tells him that, Miyano realizes that all day he's been thinking about Sasaki. So that's love, or it could be, right? And Miyano's having to like contemplate about this. And he's like, what? And then And so they try to drag Miyano off to go show his classmates. He's like, it'd be much easier to fit a wig if you cut your hair. He's like, I guess. And then that's when the president is thinking, surely not, right? No, surely, indeed. So yeah, so they go back talking about the pageant. And they decide what wig. And so they're deciding what wig to use. And they decide on like a short wig that's got natural curl with volume. And I love they have drag pageant victory meeting. Like they're just like already deciding all these things. But here's the thing. This is the other thing too. Miyano is not involved in the decision-making process. So they've left Miyano out. So again, does Miyano really want to be involved in this? Or is he just going along because he's being nice? But he doesn't really want to do it. And that goes back to the whole thing with the hair. It's like he really wants to cut his hair, but he doesn't because people have made fun of him, and also he doesn't want Sasaki to feel bad. So it's like, But I think Sasaki's trying to get to him being like, you need to do things that you want to do because you want to do them. Don't just do things because other people tell you to. And I think that's what he's trying to get at. Yeah. And so, yeah. So they dress him up. And they put like the wig on him. It's like almost got extensions almost. And then so I like this thing with Kurosawa though, where he takes the photo of himself and says the girlfriend will love it. And he looks great. Like that photo is amazing. Like Kurosawa looks wonderful. And so Miyano asks if he's done cosplay before, or would you do it to make your girlfriend happy? And he's like, I've not done cosplay, but I would if she asked. And Miyano's like, you're so bold. like you think he actually consider it. But I love this. I love that Kurosawa says that she's stuck in the hospital. She has all this free time. He's just trying to make her feel better. So he's like, if I can help her enjoy herself while she's there, I'm going to do it. And so he's being considerate. And then Miyano's like, you're really fond of your girlfriend, aren't you? And he's like, indeed. He's like, I'm really fond of her. And then she says, I love seeing guys cross-dressing. Thank you so much. Like she's just gushing about it. And so he's like, I bet she'd love to see Miyano in this get-up. But then Kurosawa knows that they're a thing too, because Kurosawa goes to take the picture of Miyano in the kimono, but then he flashes back to seeing Sasaki with his hand on him. And I love this. He says, you know what? I'd hate if some other guy took a picture of my girlfriend. So never mind. So yeah, everybody knows. It's a thing. And Miyano's like, what? And he's like, forget it. Miyano's like, everybody's talking about me. What is the deal? So they're like, Miyano, did you trim your hair? And he's like, yeah, I figured it was time for a cut. Plus he mentioned it'd be easier to wear the wig. So he did trim his hair. Okay. So he had cut it. But his hair's like got all the floof and the volume. And this cat opening up his eyes right as Sasaki is about to go and find him. So yeah, and also, for the record, the president and Hirano totally set this up. Because the president's like, oh, hey, I gotta go find Hirano, bye. And then Hirano told Sasaki he had to go find the president. They left them alone together. You cannot convince me they did not set this whole thing up. They set up this thing for them to go find each other. Because Sasaki shows up, and he's like, oh, I just missed him. Yeah, sets it right up. Like, they're texting each other, being like, okay, now you leave. Okay, I'm going. And then he finds Miyano with the kimono and everything. And he locks the door. He locks the door so nobody else can come in. Gah! I really thought more was going to happen than it did. And I'm glad it didn't. Because again, Miyano has not gave him an answer. Yeah, Miyano has not gave him an answer yet over whether he wants, or whether he likes him back or wants to date him. So I'm glad he didn't try to kiss him. I'm glad, because that Miyano hasn't even admitted that he loves you or likes you yet, so that would be taking advantage of him. So I'm glad he didn't do that. But he locked the door. Did not want them getting interrupted. And then Sasaki's like, are you doing that cross-dressing thing? And so Miyano's like, I've hid it from him. Darn it. He's like, I did hide it from him. I shouldn't have, but he's like, of course he found out. And so he's like, my classmates asked me to, and they promised they wouldn't make it too girly. So, and you could tell that Miyano scrunches his hand up. He's like, so don't get mad. But Sasaki's not mad necessarily at him or at the idea. And Miyano says, I didn't mind when others saw me like this. But, so why am I embarrassed right now? And then he's like, Sasaki senpai, and he tries to get him to head back. But that look, he's like, so you'll just wear that get up even if you don't like it just because they asked you to. And that look. And he thinks it, and the funny thing is that Sasaki thinks he was being a jerk in that moment. He's like, oh shit, I was being a jerk. And Miyano is like, I don't think he was being a jerk, but I've never heard him talk like that. And then he realizes, he's like, wait a minute. He kind of talks like this around Ogasawara and Hirano, but he doesn't talk like that around me. Why? And it's like, because he likes you. And then Miyano says, well, he does have a point too. But yeah, he was shocked at his expression. And that's when he realizes that he doesn't talk that way around Miyano because here's the thing. It's like he wants Miyano to like him, and he's kind of doing the same. He's just as guilty, right, in this moment that Miyano, not guilty is not the right word, but Miyano has been going along with what people have wanted him to do just to be polite, whereas Sasaki has deliberately toned his voice down and not been like he is with Ogasawara and Hirano because he wants to impress Miyano and make him like him. And so it's funny, they're both not being themselves 100%, right? And that's kind of the whole point here, is that they're not being themselves. And Sasaki, he's been totally honest about liking Miyano, but Miyano hasn't been able to reply to him. And then Miyano's like, has he been changing the way he speaks to me? Yes. And it's because he likes you. And then it just takes Miyano a while to get it. And it's just, oh my gosh. I love that blush though. It's so beautiful because he loves me. And Sasaki's like, what? Oh, I love it. And then Miyano tries to leave. And that's when Sasaki asks him not to do the pageant. And we don't get the ED. They go right through it. And then Sasaki realizes, he's like, never mind. He's like, what am I doing? And Miyano's like, what should I do? The president and all my classmates are supporting me. But here's the thing. And then we're so far into preparations. And they are supporting him. And they are far into preparations. But they have kind of left Miyano out of everything. They're just kind of like using him because he's the prettiest one out of all of them. So Miyano's like, I made the decision along with the class and I accepted it. So I don't want to just quit and let them all down, even though I said I'll do it. And then he's like, well, I'll discuss it with them. I'll discuss it with him. We'll talk about it. And then he goes to leave, and that's when Sasaki grabs him. Because what did he say right there? He said there at the end. At the end, he says, I'll see what Kurosawa thinks. Because Kurosawa is the alternate, right? And that's when Sasaki stops him. And I really thought that he was going to kiss him. I really did. And I love that Sasaki is like going through what he thinks and what he's feeling. He's like, what does he say? He's like, he should put the class first. Because Miyano doesn't know what's going on. And I love this duality with Sasaki. He's like, I feel like I'm going to die. He's like, I know he should put the class first, but I love him, but I'm torn. He says, I love him, but I'm torn. He's like, I don't want Miyano to do this because I love him, but I realize he made an obligation to the class. And he's like, rein it in. And I love him. I love that he's trying to rein himself in and control himself. But at the same time, his body and his mind is saying like, no, I love him. And Miyano's like, what's going on? He's like, senpai, are you all right? I want to treat him with care. And I love him. Oh. And then the blossom blooming. Oh, that look. That steely cat look. Oh my God. And he just falls into him. Like giving him the big old hug. Ugh. And he's like, oh, and they both say, I love him. Oh, I love this. And the moment that Miyano could see above his shoulder, I'm like, okay, so he didn't kiss. He just saw above his shoulder. Oh. And him just grabbing a hold of him. And that moment where he grabs his back. And Miyano, he's like, did I just realize? And Miyano's saying this. Did I just realize that I'm in love with him? And the next episode, because I want to take care of you, of course. This is my favorite episode of the series so far. Rule of 8 did not let me down. Not at all. I love the dynamic between Kurosawa and his girlfriend. I love Ogasawara and Emi, his girlfriend, Amy. Tashiro was great. The president is mysterious and wonderful. Hirano is long-suffering, but we got to see his roommate finally. Yes, cute basketball boy who looks like an innocent cinnamon bun. And then, yeah, Sasaki and Miyano both realizing that they love each other. And both, again, I love the idea that Sasaki, I get where Sasaki's coming from, but I like that rather than being this forceful seme BL trope where he's just like, you're not going to do this because I love you. He's like, I'm torn. What do I do? Like, I want to keep you to myself. I want you. But I like the idea that Sasaki wants Miyano to make the decision because he wants to. He wants him to have his own agency, and he doesn't want him to just agree to do something to be polite because that's going to reflect on their relationship. And I love that. So, this is great. This episode was wonderful, and I'm so hyped up for episode 9 now. Y'all don't even know. Or maybe you do. But I imagine you all like this episode too. I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below because this episode was wonderful. But yeah, so is Miyano going to do the pageant or not? I could see it going both ways. I could see Miyano backing out and Kurosawa taking over. Or I could see Sasaki being like, no, do it. You made an obligation. And Miyano maybe telling him afterwards being like, I'm not going to do anything else unless I want to. And maybe that'll lead to him one day saying, and I want to date you. So, but this was so good. I loved this. So yeah, there we go. I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, next week we'll find out, I guess, what's happened with this pageant. So I'll be back really soon and we'll do that with episode 9 of Sasaki and Miyano. Bye.